All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. We are here with some more NFL preseason DFS picks, lineup advice, DraftKings, FanDuel, everything you need to crush tonight's 8-game NFL preseason DFS slate. Welcome. I am Brian Jester. If you watched our UC video, welcome back. We were here just a couple of hours ago, and I'm joined by a special guest, one of Occupy Fantasy's first staff members. In fact, the first staff member outside of the co-founders, our preseason research expert, our college football plug writer. It is Lucas Jensen at Lucas Jensen DFS. Lucas, what's up, man? It's good to talk to you.
What's up? Yeah, happy to be back. Knocking off the rust for the live streams, but happy to be here. 8-game slate. We got a lot going on.
Absolutely. We have a lot to talk about. So, again, this is a live stream, so if you do have questions, you can throw them in the chat, but we're going to keep this format similar to our pre-recorded videos that we've done every day for the past couple of preseason DFS slates. And we're going to give you we can call it core plays, but the guys that are in great positions that you have to play at least some of in your lineups. And if you're not even considering these guys, you're not going to win money in preseason DFS tonight. So we're going to give you guys at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and maybe a tight end. And then Lucas and I will each give you a very low-owned play that no one else is talking about that has a chance to win you a GPP. Honestly, we're trying to follow in Chris's footsteps. He's been nailing those calls seemingly every single video. So we're going to see if we can do that. So again, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. But I am still feeling under the weather. That has not changed since the UFC stream 2 hours ago. So Lucas is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting here. So Lucas, I'm going to kick it to you first. There's one quarterback who's likely going to play the entire game today, and it's not something we really have to overthink.
Yeah, no, this is a pretty easy one. In Tennessee, we got Malik Willis. So not only is he going to play the whole game, but Malik Willis, as we know, likes to scramble as well. So you get that rushing upside or floor, I guess. And when you have a quarterback in preseason who's playing the whole game, there's not a lot to overthink there. Pretty much his competition, no one's seeing near that. Very few are seeing more than a half. So I think, I don't know about you, Brian, but I'm putting him into almost every lineup regardless of the contest type.
Yeah, and if you guys are reading our daily plug, which went live maybe 15 minutes before we went live here on the show, we only have 3 quarterbacks listed. And honestly, that's probably even extreme. You could just play Willis in all of your lineups. And Lucas, as we've seen in all kinds of preseason DFS slates, even if Willis scores like 9 or 11, completely underwhelms, and one of these other quarterbacks score 13, 14, 15, that's not really going to prevent us from winning, definitely not low-risk contests, but it's not going to even prevent us from winning the biggest prizes in GPPs, right?
Right, exactly. I don't know how anyone gets too much ahead of him. I mean, you're going to have to throw 3 touchdowns. He's going to get his rushing stats, and it's still a competition in Tennessee. I mean, I think he's going to ball out, honestly, and I think everyone's going to play him. Everywhere is talking about him. Beat writers are kind of just keep tweeting over and over in Tennessee for sure. So I like what I see. I'm ready to play him.
Yeah.
There's
Go ahead.
one thing to note is, I mean, with 8 games, you have so many different ways to get different. I think running backs is a decent position, but there's nobody that is this good at running back. And then receivers, you can play anyone you want. And something great about Willis is he doesn't have to throw, so we're not trying to jam him in. Tennessee pass catchers that could get zeros. You can play guys who we know have a great opportunity in other places as well. So there's a lot of stuff to love about Willis.
Absolutely. That's a great point about his stacking partners as well. So again, just to recap, play Willis in basically every lineup you make. Lucas, if there is someone who can outscore him, who do you think is the most likely, though?
Drew Lock is definitely would be my next one. And what I like about Lock is how Willis doesn't have anyone we love to partner with him. Drew Lock has multiple pass catchers, and we'll maybe get to it in a little bit, but these pass catchers I think are going to be low owned because of missing week 1. And for some reason, if they aren't able to go week 2, well, then we have even lower owned guys who will fill in for these, maybe not stars, but stars of the preseason, I would say, or at least practice.
Absolutely. So Malik Willis, number 1. Drew Lock is number 2 for us, but it is a massive gap. And just to recap, play Willis in almost all of your lineups tonight, if not 100%. All right, let's move over to the running back position. Right. And actually, on the same team for Tennessee, we have another top play. Why don't you talk about who's going to partner up with Willis in that backfield and maybe the other top running back we're thinking about tonight, Lucas?
Yeah, so in the Tennessee backfield, you have Joey Chestnut. Everything from the beat reporters sounds like Chestnut is in a still in a competition for. It's a little bit confusing, but they have Spears, who I seem like is a number two, and then they have a battle for number three between Hassan Haskins, Chestnut, and one other running back. But judging by last game, Chestnut got way more carries and snaps than anybody else. All the beat writers expect that to continue this week, and he was pretty good in those snaps. So I would expect that to continue, and that's why we think he's a great option. And if Willis isn't running it in, that means Chestnut's probably running it in, and maybe you're not stacking pass catchers, but hopefully Chestnut can make a few catches out of the backfield and look good, especially in low risk.
Exactly. And one of the big reasons we like him tonight, too, so those guys he's in competitions with, we are expecting Haskins and Ward both to miss this game. So that would leave Tennessee with just three running backs. Chestnut, Tajay Spears, and Jacques Patrick, who they just signed a couple of days ago. And Lucas, for those who aren't familiar with preseason DFS, we've seen it quite a few times in the last couple of slates. Running backs who just signed, unless it's the last game of the preseason, these guys are only getting a handful of snaps just to give the other guys breathers as emergencies. These guys who signed on Tuesday or Wednesday, they're not getting a full complement of snaps.
Yeah, there's very little chance that they come in maybe at the very end of the game to clean up work. So yeah, I'm really happy with him. And then another running back we like, Roschon Johnson of the Bears. Something always good to look for in preseason, I feel like, is rookies. The teams want to get the rookies run. Something we do highlight in the plug is how Roschon, his whole career at the University of Texas, was behind Bijan Robinson, of the Falcons. So he's one of these rare rookies that didn't get a lot of college run, and it seems like the Bears coaching staff is taking advantage of this and trying to get him more reps in these live games. So that seems like a great opportunity. Lots of playing time, lots of available snaps for Roschon. I don't think he has a lot of competition in that backfield either.
Yeah, and if we look at the running back spot in Chicago, so Khalil Herbert's the starter. He's not expected to play today. Treston Ebner is expected to be out,
Yep.
and it's just going to be Foreman, Homer, and Roschon more than likely, and we expect Roschon to continue to get that work. And maybe you don't have to name another player, Lucas, but in your opinion, because there's so many games on the slate, does this look like a slate where most of our lineups are going to have running backs in the flex spot or wide receivers?
For me, I would think we'd rather have receivers in your high risk contest. The running backs, the two we mentioned, I mean, they seem like they're good, but it's always preseason, and it's a little bit harder for a running back to even score double digits. Where I think a receiver can catch a long pass. There's so many on this slate, a lot of them that we like that people maybe aren't looking to play. So I think you go receiver in some areas where if you're in a smaller contest, maybe you look for a running back that has a locked in floor, I would say.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, and that's exactly what I was thinking. All right, moving on to the wide receiver position. For those who have been around for multiple preseasons, for those who have been reading Lucas's plugs in the preseason, you know that there are a couple of teams every year that just we always target receivers or players from their teams because they're always shorthanded. Lucas, that has not changed tonight. Who are those three teams, and who are the top receivers from those teams that are going to get a lot of run, should get some targets, and will probably be popular in DFS as well?
Yeah, so starting off with New England Patriots, it seems like we mention them every time they play in the last, I don't know, 4 preseasons. But they always seem to play not the same, but a core group of people over and over. Tonight, Trey Nixon, I watched the game last week, and it seemed like he was targeted multiple times every drive, and that's been repeating season by season. So I think he, for me, is pretty much clear as a low-risk, really great play for a floor. Another team that seems like they use the same receivers, the Rams. Rams seem like they rotate the same guys. Lance McCutcheon is somebody I think we even ended up playing him in the regular season last year, so we know he's an established guy. And I don't know if this is the team you're thinking about, but the Seahawks seem like they're in a great spot tonight. Last week they had a smaller roster due to a lot of injuries. This week we're expecting some players back with injuries. But honestly, if they're back, you're playing the guys who everyone loves. But if they're out, you can play the guys who played last week who performed well, and you know where the passes are going. Is that kind of what you're thinking as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Seattle situation is incredible for GPPs. It's the last game of the slate, and there's a lot of ways we can go. I mean, I just have the lineup screen I mean, I have the wide receiver position for Seattle pulled up on the lineup screen here, and there are a million question marks. Matt Landers, we told people to play last week. He's probably going to be out. Aesop Winston, he's probably out. Jake Bobo, we did tell people to play last week. He scored. He's probably going to play. But then we have guys like Cody Thompson. We have guys like Derek Young, who did not play last week, and beat reporters are expecting them to take on a pretty big role this week because they didn't play last week. And Lucas, I can't stress enough how low of ownership we get on guys who missed the previous week of preseason DFS. The field just acts like they don't exist.
Right, right. No, it's a great spot, and we wanted to play both those guys last week. I know Thompson for sure, and when he gets scratched, he doesn't play. Uh, it's like doing the same thing this week. If you liked him last week, why wouldn't you roll it over? And it's a great way to get different. So you can play a lot of these Willis at huge ownership, Chestnut, Johnson, as long as you're around by, I think it's is it 10 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Central, somewhere around there.
Yep.
As long as you're around and you can make those changes, and we'll be updating the plug. That's a great spot. I like it in high risk, and I don't hate it in low risk either, because you kind of see where you're at that point of the night.
That's true too. That's a really good point because the other team I was thinking about was Las Vegas, who clearly did not have a lot of guys active last week, and they might have even one less active this week with Philip Dorsett. So I think probably what you could do is lock in a 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. receiver, Lucas, and then see, okay, maybe I'm behind, maybe I play the Seattle guys, or maybe I'm ahead and maybe I play a Vegas receiver that's going to be more popular, and I can lock in my position in my contest. Who do you think, if that is the case, which Vegas receiver is probably the safest, most popular?
So Trey Tucker, I'm always going to lean towards the younger guys. Trey Tucker, I believe, is a rookie out of Cincinnati. He looked really good last week. Keelan Cole, a little bit more of a veteran presence. I don't know. I always feel like coaching staffs want to see the younger guys. They've seen the old guys before. Let's let the young guys run. So I would say Trey Tucker is a great option there. But Keelan Cole is also good in that Vegas receiving room.
Perfect. All right, guys. That is quarterback, running back, and receiver. So we got the plays on screen here. We're not going to fill up a lineup. I know I see a question in the chat. Can we fill out lineups? No, that is against the DraftKings terms and conditions. Our daily plug has you covered for all the top plays at every position. We're giving the main ones, but there are a lot of guys that can score really well, a lot of guys that are going to be 1% owned. We talked about 1% owned plays before. You get them galore on 8-game slates. This is really where we shine. So just really quickly, Lucas, tight end. Is there any one guy that stands out at tight end, or is this a position like last night where a bunch of guys are going to see some run and we're just going to play? We're going to mix and match some guys.
Yeah, so there's a couple spots where we expect guys to get a little bit more run, but I mean, these are guys that nobody's probably heard of. We talked before about Blake Whiteheart before the stream, and like I don't even know who this guy is, but he's expected to get some more snaps today, and extra snaps usually mean more points. So that's a good place to go, but I don't mind mixing it up at tight end. One guy I was looking at, Peyton Durham from Purdue, is another. I keep saying it, but another rookie that I would think gets more snaps. He was a great pass catcher at Purdue. He showed a little bit of pass catching ability in the first preseason game. So that's the place I'm looking at. We like him a little bit more in high risk, but I think at tight end, there's no one you need to play, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's a must play. I guess the other question I would have that others may have, because they've probably read reports because national reporters are talking about it, that Chiefs starters may play up to a half. But you've been around the block, Lucas. You know that doesn't necessarily mean that the entire offense will play the entire first half. How are you handling that news? Again, at quarterback, we're playing Willis or Locke, but Kelsey, maybe Sky Moore, guys like that. How are you using that news of the Chiefs' potential playing time?
I don't blame anyone who wants to play Kelsey, but personally, I don't think I would get too close to that. If he scores a touchdown and I lose, I'm probably going to take it. But he's been in the NFL 10 years. I think Mahomes knows what he's getting out of him. They've got always these weird tight ends, Noah Gray, Blake Bell. I would think that Kelsey maybe goes out there for a drive, and then the rest of the starters keep playing, and he doesn't play. I would be hesitant to play him, but I mean, he's also one of the best tight ends in the league, and I can't blame you for playing him. Similar to Darren Waller last night, where that ended up panning out pretty well. 3 catches, I think 30 yards. So it's doable, but it's not a spot that I think you need to go by any means.
For sure. And I will say the one difference for those who followed along in our plug in Discord and watched the video yesterday at the tight end position and tonight is that last night we were just hoping a guy would get a catch or two because no one was playing a ton. There was only 4 teams on the slate. Tonight, Lucas, with 16 teams in action, if you're going to win a GPP, you probably need a little more than a couple of points from your tight end, I would think.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. If you get a luck touchdown, that probably helps, but you do need a lot more of volume for sure.
All right, let's close out the show with some low-owned options. I know that's what a lot of you viewers are here for. And maybe we'll go a running back, a receiver, and a tight end each. How's that sound, Lucas?
Yeah, no, that works for me. There's so many to pick from. We could do this. We could do this until lock.
All right, I don't know if my voice can handle that, so we'll go here until 5 p.m. So, running back position. I will start with the position and a team that I think the industry is wrong on right now. We have the pulse of the industry. We're looking at underlog lines, what other industry sites are putting out. And I think, Lucas, a lot of people are quick to just automatically plug in Ty Chandler from Minnesota because of his performance last week. However, based on reports, based on their playing time trends, it seems like Chandler's locked in number 2 right now. Initially starting the offseason that there was a battle for number 2, but Chandler's basically got it locked up. And now it's McBride and Abram Smith battling for this last roster spot. We expect McBride to get it, but we don't expect Chandler to just get 40% of the snaps like he did last week. So I'm going to say Dwayne McBride, 1% running back, no one's playing. They only have 3 active, and we were drafting him in best ball in May in some spots. So, Lucas, my 1% running back is Dwayne McBride.
Yeah, I really like that, and I'll say I have a lot of Ty Chandler in my best ball, so I'm hoping he does have that number 2 spot locked in. For my, he's maybe not 1%, but one of my low-owned running backs, Zach Evans for the Rams. So I think in our chat we were talking earlier about Kyron Williams for the Rams kind of locking up that number 2 spot. He didn't play last week with Cam Akers, their starter. So there's kind of an open door there in the Rams backfield to get some snaps and maybe compete for that number 3 spot. Zach Evans, very similar to Roschon Johnson, where at Ole Miss he wasn't the starter. He was behind Quayshawn Judkins, I believe is his name at Ole Miss. So he didn't get a ton of reps, maybe 50-50, a little bit more than Roschon, but I think the Rams let him play a good amount, and he was a 4 or 5 star recruit out of high school. So he's a great option. I think they let him run, and hopefully he can get in the end zone, can catch, can run, a little bit of everything.
And Royce Freeman got more of the work last week, so I think if the field goes to any Rams running back, it will be Freeman. So I really like the pivot there to Zach Evans.
And that's another spot where your rookie's getting hopefully more carries than a veteran. I mean, we know what Royce Freeman is. Do we really need to see him run 50% of the snaps again?
No, we absolutely do not. We do not. So, all right, wide receiver. I know you got a deep in your bag for a low-owned wide receiver. Who do you got on this?
There's a ton of them, but another rookie I'm looking at, Dontavian Wicks. He went to Virginia. He's a big receiver, I think like 6'1" for Green Bay. They need receiving help in Green Bay. He, I want to say, had 4 targets last week. He's a great option. I love playing him in college, so I'm going to keep doing that here in the preseason. I'm going to go Dontavian Wicks for my low-owned receiver play.
Sounds good. And Lucas, my voice is fading. Do you have another? Can you fill in for me? Give me one more low-owned wide receiver that people should be aware of.
Yeah. So let's see. I will go one more. See, I saw him on here earlier. Well, I'll go with Garrick Young. Is that Seattle? We mentioned him earlier. We played him in the preseason last year. I remember him scoring a touchdown. It won me a good amount of money last year. So I'm going to keep going with him. He is one of our Seattle receivers who did not play in week 1. So again, we're going to have to watch the reports. We'll update the plug if he doesn't play, but all signs point to him playing. I like him as a low-owned, kind of that number 2 guy behind Cody Thompson in Seattle. But you got a good quarterback thrown to him in Drew Lock. I think that's a good option.
Really love that call there. All right, and finally, tight end. We do have a question from Totally Not the FBI in the chat. It says, what about Will Mallory with the Colts? Lucas, I don't know if you have any insight on Mallory. I just know that he's expected to be back this week, but they do have 5 tight ends that are going to be playing today, so it's a little crowded. Any insight on that situation?
I think he's perfectly good for your high-risk lineups. Will Mallory, I remember he went to Miami. He's another rookie this year. Great pass catcher in Miami. So I think that's an opportunity of him missing last week. Maybe they give him some additional run. I don't remember some of these teams run together. Let's see. The Colts Yeah, that they don't have a standout guy from what I see, so I wouldn't mind Mallory. Make sure he is playing. We expect him to play, but if you get confirmation he's playing, I don't mind that at all in high risk.
Yeah, good stuff. And then what about you, Lucas? Maybe one or two guys that we haven't talked about at tight end that probably the field will overlook.
Yeah, so I already mentioned Payne Durham. I mean, he's probably my favorite guy. Um, and then I would say he's number one on a high risk for tight end, but Matt Bushman, kind of similar to that idea of Travis Kelce, maybe not getting as much run. Um, I think Matt Bushman, I want to say he went to BYU if I remember, but another rookie. That's who I'm looking at. Anything from you?
I just want to add. So I think Bushman is second year, but he played last week and had three targets. Two of them were wiped off due to penalties. So if you're just looking at box scores, you may see that he only had one target. And then last year, he infamously had this massive two touchdown game in the preseason. So I don't think anyone's really going to play him tonight, but he should play a lot with the second and third unit. So I really like that call with Bushman.
Yeah, looking at it, I see 56% snaps last week. That's always a good start. But tight end is tough tonight, but I think those are good places to start.
Absolutely. And since people are going to ask, right, we get for some reason we get this question every single preseason video. They ask about defenses. What is your strategy for defenses tonight, Lucas? Just overall in preseason DFS and then tonight on a larger slate.
Defenses, I mean, I'm looking to play. So, so so there's a lot of rookie quarterbacks that play, and usually these rookie quarterbacks get a lot of playing time, but they're also rookies and honestly not very good compared to NFL defenses. So a lot of times I like to target um, rookie quarterbacks, obviously that I'm not playing in my lineups. Someone like Stenson Bennett against the Rams, and I'll be honest, I don't know who they're playing, but that's someone I would look at playing against. I know Bennett was great at Georgia, but a rookie, do we know what he really has? Probably not, but he's going to want to show off the arm. That's an option there. But I don't have a great magic 8 ball for defenses. Honestly, I'm plugging and playing where I can, and if something fits, always if you have a running back, that's always a good stack if you can make it work. But I don't have a great grasp on defenses, especially today on 8 games. You can go in a lot of places.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a really good point. So if you guys have any further questions, Discord's the best way. We do have a little bit more information for you, so stick around. But Discord, occupyfantasy.com/Discord. We'll be putting in notes and answering questions throughout the night, so make sure you join us there. Lucas, I'm going to ask you to promote two things for me. First, talk about the daily plug for those who don't know what it is, and then what they can expect from us tonight as far as updates go.
Yeah, for sure. So daily plug today. If you're playing NFL DFS for the preseason today, especially, I mean, you have 8 games. Our team does a great job of scrolling through all these beat writers, looking at trends, looking at the data from previous years, and putting it in all one easy to read place. With 8 games, I would say this is kind of our cornerstone. I mean, what a great example of how many hours all of our team members put into it. And we've got plugs just about every preseason slate we have for NFL preseason. Coming up, I know college football starts next week, week 0. That'll be me putting that together. That's always fun to get something going on Saturday besides UFC, which I know we got coming up soon. But there's another plug for you at the UFC plugs we put out, and then NFL coming up will be kind of a big one. I know that's what everyone loves. So it's some stuff to look forward to.
Absolutely. I do have one more question to ask you about the college football plug. But Lucas, someone in the chat says, are wide receiver and tight end the best places to get different tonight?
Yeah, for sure. That's where I would get different. Running back is tough, but I think if you were to tell me you got to go crazy at receiver, I'd be more willing to do that than running back, where you have a little bit more information on who's getting the snaps.
Definitely. And back to the college football point, like Lucas said, it does start next week. He writes our plug every single week. And Lucas, we don't do projections. We don't have a model. So a lot of people ask, how can I play college football without projections? How do you guys do it without numbers or a model? Maybe you can better explain why college football is a little bit different than some of these other sports that we offer, and if people read the plug, what they can get out of it.
Yeah, for sure. So college football is a little bit different than maybe your NFL or NBA slates, where there's not these massive contests where you're 150 entering. Honestly, it's rare that me, who I'm going to play a lot, obviously I write the plug, but there's very rare times that I'm playing more than 20 lineups in a contest. So I mean, yeah, projections are helpful. Sure, builder's helpful, but basically in our plug, we're going to highlight the plays we think you need in low risk and plays that are great in high risk. I think we do a great job of looking at stacks, which is super underutilized in college football, but maybe a running back receiver that's been playing well in practice, or one of my favorite things that we carry from the NFL plug is our underperforming receivers. Thanks to Moose, who helps me out on that. But seeing receivers who are getting a ton of looks, but maybe just not connecting, that's one place we get very different. We'll have multiple 1 to 5% owned receivers. It's college football is one of these sports that it's pretty easy to see who the 30% running back is or 50% quarterback. But finding that one or two receivers, I think is something we do a great job at. And I'm excited to keep doing it this year.
I will say, college underperforming wide receiver A.T. Perry from last year carried
Shout
it
out
over.
A2 Perry.
19 points in preseason week 1. So the underperforming wide receivers continue from college to the NFL. And we do have one final question here. It's a pick one of these three guys, Lucas. So maybe just
Oh man.
I know it's these are hard questions to answer without knowing the rest of your lineup or the contest you're playing. But maybe just a brief blurb about each player and why he may pick that guy. So Torian asks Patrick Taylor, Jake Bobo, or Dwayne McBride is his last flex option.
Yeah, so in the flex, Patrick Taylor, Green Bay, likely to get a lot of carries there. We mentioned McBride, and then Jake Bobo. I'm going to say, hoping this is a high risk lineup, I'm going to go Jake Bobo, just because of kind of what we highlighted as so many different options at that late game. But I don't fault anyone for Patrick Taylor, even if they want to go for the risky McBride in the flex. But I would prefer McBride at the running back position.
Fair enough. Thanks, Lucas. Appreciate it. Thanks for the questions, guys. Go follow Lucas on Twitter at Lucas Jensen DFS. If you liked his input today, show him some love. Tell him on Twitter. Tell us in Discord. If you want to see him more on these shows, let us know. So thanks to Lucas. I appreciate you joining me, bro. Thanks for helping me out with my voice being in the state that it is. If you guys want more of these videos, subscribe. We're doing these YouTube preseason previews every single day. There's a preseason game, so that means one on Sunday, one on Monday, and then finally for week 3 next week. So for Lucas, I'm Brian. We're from Occupy Fantasy. Thank you for listening, and good luck in tonight's preseason DFS games.